semiconductor tariff that you posted on Truth Social today. What is the timeline for that? And I believe it was Jameson Greer said today that those will not be negotiable. Once those tariffs are in place, they're non-negotiable. Is that right?
But the tariffs will be in place in the not distant future because, as you know, like we did with steel, like we did with automobiles, like we did with aluminum, which are now fully on, we'll be doing that with semiconductors, with chips, and numerous other things. And that'll take place in the very near future.
And all the things.
And what we did is we want to uncomplicate it from a lot of companies because that's really where it should be, ideally. And we wanted to uncomplicate it from a lot of other companies because we want to make our chips and semiconductors and other things in our country. And I will tell you, another one is pharmaceuticals, drugs and pharmaceuticals. We want to make our drugs in this country. And by placing a tariff on the companies that are not in this country, they're going to move into our country and we're going to have our drugs made in the United States so that in case of war, in case of whatever, we're not relying on China and various other countries to supply us with drugs, which is not a good idea. And it'll happen very fast. It'll all happen very fast.
Do you know what rate the semiconductor tariff?
I'm going to be announcing it over the next week.
You announced tariffs on things like iPhones, tablets.
Well, that's going to be announced very soon, and we'll be discussing it. But we'll also talk to companies. You know, you have to show a certain flexibility. Nobody should be so rigid. You have to have a certain flexibility. And we're doing really well, and financially our country is going to be stronger than it's ever been.
So some products there's flexibility for some products?
For some products, yeah, maybe.
Can you say what kinds?
No, I'll be announcing it in the not too distant future, but it's going to be separately announced.
Mr. President, do you have any reaction to...
Very much like if you look, automobiles, again, automobiles, we have a tariff. Nobody's complaining about it. Went through the process, we have the tariff. Steel, aluminum, and some other things. So, and by the way, our country is taking in billions and billions of dollars on those tariffs.
What is your message to markets tomorrow? There's some ambiguity, or at least some questions about whether there were exceptions or exemptions.
There shouldn't be ambiguity. We have a tremendous country. We have a country that's much richer today than it was a few months ago. We have a financial system that's very respected, and we're going to do great. And we were taken advantage of and ripped off by every country all over the world, almost, just about. They laughed at us. We were run by foolish people, and they took advantage of our country, and we're just not going to let that happen anymore.
In terms of the big, beautiful bill,
right?
When do you expect that to get done?
Well, I hope soon. The big, beautiful bill. It's the big, beautiful tax cuts, really, and regulation cuts and many other things. It passed its first test, as you know, the last couple of weeks, but particularly during last week, where we had a vote. We won in the House, we won in the Senate, and that was a big chunk of it. And now they're going to eventually take, pretty soon, a final vote. And the big, beautiful tax cuts and regulation cuts and all of the other things that are included in there will go into effect. And I think it'll be probably the largest tax cuts in the history of our country.
Being with us this morning, I really appreciate your time.
Well, remember, those products are going to be part of the semiconductor sectoral tariffs, which are coming. So you're going to see this week, there'll be a register in the Federal Registry. There'll be a notice put out. That is different types of work. So we're going to do that. We did that in autos. The president's going to do it for pharmaceuticals, and he's going to do it for semiconductors. So all those products are going to come under semiconductors, and they're going to have a special focused type of tariff to make sure that those products get reshored. We need to have semiconductors, we need to have chips, and we need to have flat panels. We need to have these things made in America. We can't be reliant on Southeast Asia for all of the things that operate for us. So what he's doing is he's saying they're exempt from the reciprocal tariffs, but they're included in the semiconductor tariffs, which are coming in probably a month or two. So these are coming soon. You shouldn't think this is really outside of it. Really think of it as being included in the semiconductor space, much like pharmaceuticals. So this is not like a permanent sort of exemption. He's just clarifying that these are not available to be negotiated away by countries. These are things that are national security that we need to be made in America.
CIE 的插槽去做加值跟扩充，那这边的话是必须要用，像这个就没有办法装在这个上面，那它这个就是单卡这样做扩充。
看电影、看网络、看 YouTube、做文书处理这个概念。
じゃあ、ポテトサラダ、処理して。はい。